Today I fucked up by walking into my son's bedroom without knocking while he was with his girlfriend. My son is 18 and we generally get along pretty well, though he's going through his own life and I'm trying to respect that. So I came home after work, him after school. I decided to visit his room to ask him what he wanted for dinner and to maybe play some Mario Kart. I'm still mortified at what I found. I walk in, fully clothed. My son's girlfriend is on all fours on the bed, my son's face is buried into her butt. She stares at me with the widest eyes I've ever seen, and within milliseconds releases what can only be described as the horns of the apocalypse and farts directly into my son's face. He falls backward off the bed, brings down an entire table on top of him. She falls off the front of the bed flipped completely upside down, vertically. He yells "Dad!" when suddenly the contents of his entertainment center come crashing down on him. I rush to his aid. The room smells of some kind of mix of tuna fish and hard-boiled eggs. My son's pants are down, he's crying and I'm panicking trying to unbury him below the rubble. His girlfriend then runs out of the room and heads for the bathroom. All I can hear are explosive noises that could break glass with sound waves. My son is bleeding. I haven't said one word at this point. I muster the strength I have to get him to the car for an ER visit. I try to get his girlfriend but all I hear from the bathroom is a mix of crying and fart trumpets exploding. In a moment of weakness I back up and just leave my house locking the door. My son's alright now, physically anyway. I'll update if he gets pink eye. His girlfriend hasn't contacted us, so I can assume she's still going to town. I'm no longer hungry so dinner's out. TL, doctor walked in on my son burying his face into his girlfriend's anus. She farts, he falls off bed and takes down a table and his entertainment center. Update. Thanks so much for the gold. I originally just wanted to type this out as a literal "today I fucked up," as in I felt like I had really screwed up and wanted some support. I misunderstood the humor this subreddit is usually used for. I should have been more discreet with details to say the least. I never anticipated for a second this would grow to this level. My son is fine, he just ended up with a few scrapes and bruises. I was mainly concerned at the sight of blood added by the fact that all the objects falling down on him were pretty heavy game systems, figurine statues and the like. We haven't spoken much about the incident, but I did pry a few details out, in the least judgmental, kind way I could think to. They had the house to themselves. It started with cuddling as she didn't feel very well, obviously, and he admitted he just wanted to sniff her butt. She was probably reluctant to reveal how she didn't feel very well. We are talking, but not much. He's let out a few chuckles and smiles with red face. I realize walking in was a huge violation of privacy, but I am trying my very best to band-aid this. He is aware of the Reddit post but doesn't mind. When we got home the bottom lock on the door was locked and she was nowhere in sight. She hasn't contacted him at all since it happened, but in a few days or whenever she gets back to him I plan on driving him over to see her, and giving her the kindest smile and wave I can muster, all jokes suppressed. If any of his gaming stuff is damaged I plan on fully replacing them, and getting him new stuff as an apology. A few answered questions. I did not enter the room with my pants off. I was fully clothed, she was fully clothed, his pants were merely down. I originally typed out the "today I fucked up" in a hurry while we sat down. I'm unsure what caused the massive explosion and upset stomach, but I suspect it was already brewing before I walked in, and she was trying to suppress it when she became a deer in headlights when I walked in. I will knock before entering or maybe even call him the next time I get home. I realize now I invaded his privacy pretty heavily. The room does still faintly smell, and Febreze just lingers in the air with the smell. I suspect she did more than fart on his face. No pink eye luckily, either of us, yet. I'll update again if anything worth noting happens. Congratulations /you/concerned Dolphinful. This post has been chosen as the fuck up of the week. I once walked in on my little brother and had quite a conversation with him, when he was in bed before his girl stuck her head out the side of the bed waist height to say she was up for food later also. She was in for seconds I guess. Never walk in without knocking. I'm glad my parents know what knocking is. That was a roller coaster of a story. He'll probably never be able to bring his girlfriend over for dinner without it being incredibly awkward. This'll probably be one of the main reasons he'll have for wanting his own place. Does she have flatulence problems? Jesus, she farted throughout the whole story. IBS. It can strike at stressful times. Like your boyfriend's dad walking in while his son eats your chocolate button. Today I fucked up by gluing my ass cheeks together before a long-awaited date. So there is this girl who lives a state away from me, and she had been planning to come visit me for 3 months. The plan was for her to come over when I got off work at 9:30 am. I had worked 3 overnights in a row and I didn't have time to clean my apartment or get myself ready for her visit in the days prior due to being exhausted and or at work. Flash forward to this morning. I get off work around 8:25 and have an hour to get home and get ready before she gets there. I made it home and had 30 minutes to spare. I decided that at most I needed 5 minutes to shower, so I figured I had time to clean up a little bit. As I'm finishing cleaning, about to get in the shower, she texts me and says she will be 15 to 20 minutes late. This is where the cascading failures begin. 15 to 20 minutes isn't a lot of time, but I thought it was enough to get my downstairs trimmed up, just in case things got physical. At first I tried to use an electric razor and it was going pretty well. It quickly turned to shit and cut my right nut twice in like 10 seconds. I decided that there is no way I could finish this without my manhood looking like a murder scene. I was panicking and had no idea what to do, seeing as she'd be there in less than 10 minutes and my undercarriage was in shambles. I went to put my razor away under the sink and noticed a box of self-waxing strips that my friend had left behind when she was helping me wax my back. Perfect. I didn't have time to read the directions, so I ripped the strips open and placed them both into the middle of the jungle down there. I went to pull the first strip off and was greeted with extreme resistance and searing pain. Once again, I was too committed to not finishing and time was running out. I made the decision to rip the second strip off and just jump in the shower and hope that the encounter didn't turn physical. As soon as I go to wash the wax from my nether regions, I realize that an enormous amount of extremely sticky wax is still all over my crack. I frantically try every soap I had in my shower to get it off. I even tried to use a coffee ground face mask. That was unpleasant. At this point, somehow the wax sticky factor had quadrupled and I was 2 minutes away from her arrival. I said fuck it and dried off and got dressed. She called me to say she was here and I got up to answer the door, when I realized that my boxers were stuck to my ass and that my ass cheeks were firmly stuck together. No time to figure it out now. We chatted for a while and things ended up moving into a physical direction. She could tell that I was wincing in pain when I moved around and she kept asking what was wrong. I played it off as muscle cramps. This worked fine until she went to take off my boxers and could feel the resistance of the wax glue from my cheeks and crack. She immediately looked concerned, and I had no choice but to tell her what had gone down moments before her arrival. It has been a long time since I've been that embarrassed. The kicker is that once she stopped hysterically laughing at me, she pointed out that the wax kit comes with after wax removal wipes that I had failed to see during my frantic decision to wax in the first place. TL, doctor, I accidentally glued my ass cheeks together with a cheap self-waxing kit, moments before a girl came over and I couldn't get the wax off my ass before she got there. Edit, sorry y'all, I fell asleep after typing this. Didn't know so many people needed closure. I was successful in the mission with my rear flank exposed. My ass cheeks got stuck to the sheets more than a few times and more than a few more hairs were removed that way, but all in all it went relatively well considering the circumstances. Edit 2, changed the infamous his to the proper pronoun. Sorry to ruin the conspiracy theories. Edit 3, yes, for all of those interested, we had sex and I am seeing her again today. Also, I was talking to my best friend on Snapchat during the whole process and have a video of my reaction to the first strip being removed. I can post the link if anyone wants proof this happened. Edit 4, the video. Per requests. When you really don't like anal play. At least you didn't use super glue. One time I was working at a liquor store and one of my customers told me she went to jail for super gluing her ex's ass cheeks together. She found out he was cheating on her, So while he was passed out drunk she glued his cheeks shut. When he got up, he went to take a shit and it all sprayed out the top of his crack and onto the toilet tank and the wall. She thought it was really funny. Then he called 911, they sent EMS to take him to the hospital. He had to have a skin graft and she went to jail. She said it was worth it though. And that's enough Reddit for tonight. Rip. So. I'm really hoping she continued rip the boxers off before giving you the wipes, if so she's a keeper. Actually if she stayed with your dumbass after that introduction you're probably good to go. Okay op, you have to finish your story. Today I fucked up by roasting a coworker going through a divorce. Too long didn't read. I told my coworker his wife was too pretty for him and he pulled me aside and said that she was leaving him. It is mostly men where I work, so naturally there is always some casual light-hearted roasting going on. Everybody does it and it is all in good fun. Builds morale so on and so on. One of my coworkers, who was always an average-looking guy, not ugly or unattractive, but until recently had a bit of a dad bod. His wife, however, was very pretty. I noticed this morning that he had lost some weight and I commented, "You're losing weight bro, looking good. Finally you're looking good enough to deserve that pretty wife of yours." Now, it was meant to be a compliment, but he pulled me aside and told me that his wife was leaving him. One of her main reasons was that he apparently let himself go and she decided he wasn't good enough for her. So yeah, I felt pretty awful and I talked it over with him and we're good now. I apologized, but man do I feel like a complete asshole. I guess we never know what people are going through. I once told a guy who was going to be driving a van out of the state for a route job he was just filling in, he normally worked in the warehouse, "Did you tell your PO you were leaving town?" He was on parole? Slightly the same boat. Once told a buddy in a jokingly sense while at work, "Better pick up your pace or you'll find yourself without a job." Got called from him that night saying he got laid off from lack of work. Definitely took him out for a beer that night. I felt like such an asshole. I made a similar comment to a friend of mine. It turned out he had cancer and was keeping it a secret. Definitely an oof moment. Oof. A female friend of mine said she was feeling under the weather and couldn't go out. I knew she and her husband had been trying to have a baby, so I jokingly said, "Is it morning sickness? Did you finally get yourself knocked up?" Turns out she was pregnant. And had just had a miscarriage 2 days prior. She immediately started bawling and I felt like a big fucking stupid dumbass. Big oof. Now I don't joke about people being pregnant anymore. Since we're sharing foot in your mouth stories, here's a cringer. In HS my friend's mom died of cancer, he was about 14, call him friend A. About a week after the funeral, which our choir performed at, I was with friend B and we saw friend A looking like he had been crying, walking down to football practice. I asked how he was doing, he said terrible and he wished he could go home. Friend B said, "Just go home then. Fuck it." In a cheerful voice, he replied dejectedly, "I can't. I have practice." Friend B enthusiastically said, "Just tell them your mom died or something." My mouth fell open. He looked at her with the coldest, most empty look I've ever seen and replied, "She's already dead," and walked away. I was mortified. Friend B was even in our choir, she was at the funeral and she should have known better. 11 years later and I'm still cringing. She knew. And she went there. Oh man, that's more than cold. I've been there. My son's audiologist shed quite a lot of weight since our last visit 6 months prior. Of course, like an idiot I say something along the lines of, "Hey, looking good man. Did you start training, or a new diet?" To which he answers no. His wife left him and he's just depressed and not eating all that much. To my defense, we had a long chat last time I'd seen him. He'd noticed I had lost a fat bit of weight and asked me how I did it. So I figured he'd just decided to get healthy, hence my question. Still felt like a jackass. I once got an email from a coworker that I didn't really know too well in retrospect, and noticed her last name had changed. I congratulated her on getting married. She responded that she had just gotten divorced. I was on the other end of that several times after getting divorced. I said no, congratulations is still appropriate.